I never meant to fall in love with a mechanic, just wanted to forget my ex. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The day hope was crushed beneath the weight of hidden truths. I sat in the dimly lit garage, surrounded by metal and grease, the smell of oil thick in the air. My heart ached harder than the wrench clutched in my trembling hand. I had come here to fix the shattered pieces of a car that mirrored my life broken. He emerged from the shadows, his brow beaded with sweat and determination. The mechanic, with deep-set eyes that seemed to hold a universe of secrets, made the silence deafening. I felt a stirring. It was as if the world around us faded, leaving only the two of us. Yet I knew better. I was a mess, freshly bruised from a love that had turned sour. I wanted to forget, not start over. Inside me churned a hurricane of conflict. My phone buzzed with messages from my ex, demanding answers I didn't want to give. Each vibration felt like a push, a pull dragging me back to a world I was fighting to escape. I looked at the mechanic, his hands steady and sure. I saw a glimmer of something, or was it just a mirage? Was he merely a distraction from my pain? The tension hung thick. I could feel my pulse quicken, heart pounding like a drum. I scanned the garage, taking in the tools that were strewn about like forgotten dreams. Every clang, every whoosh of air from the compressor seemed to echo my internal chaos. The faded posters on the wall, gasoline-scented and dusty, seemed to mock my state of mind. How had I ended up here, in a place filled with machinery, trying to mend what was irreparably broken inside me? And then, as if he could read my thoughts, the mechanic's eyes locked onto mine. "You okay?" he asked, voice low and rich, laced with concern. It sent shivers down my spine, electrifying, terrifying. I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out. Just silence. The world froze for a heartbeat, the tension palpable, stretching the air between us. I caught a flare of uncertainty in his gaze, and I felt the weight of my own vulnerability. But a sudden explosion of noise shattered the moment. A car backfired in the street outside, cutting through the fog of confusion. I flinched, the spell broken. My heart raced, confusion swirling in a dance of anxiety and need. What did I want? A quick fix? Or something deeper? I was drawn to him, yet terrified of what it meant. I couldn't let another man break me, but he felt different. In that moment, I was at a crossroads, teetering on the brink of something profound. Would I dare to leap? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The hours melted away as I stood in the garage, the light dimming outside, as twilight cast long shadows across the floor. My heart continued to thrash against the walls of my chest, a caged animal longing for freedom. The mechanic had gone back to work, yet my mind couldn't shake the gravity of his question. "You okay?" Simple, yet layered with implications. Did he truly care, or was it mere curiosity? The tension crackled in the air, and with each passing moment, my resolve began to crack. Flashes of my ex's face invaded my thoughts, twisting my stomach in knots. How easily he had pulled me into his chaos, convincing me that love could be suffocating and beautiful all at once. I had lost myself to the highs and lows of his charm, like a moth drawn to an insatiable flame. But this was different, I thought, as I focused on the mechanic's hands, while he worked tirelessly on another car. His movements were graceful, precise, the embodiment of calm amidst my storm. "Need any help?" I finally managed to break the silence, the words escaping before I could think them through. I stepped closer, emboldened by curiosity mixed with desperation. He looked up, surprise flickering across his features before he smiled, a slow, deliberate smile that ignited something deep within. "Actually, yeah," he replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "I could use a second pair of hands on this one. Just hold that wrench for a sec." I felt a rush of purpose as I took the tool from him, our fingers brushing lightly. An electric current surged between the two of us, and for a moment, I wanted to forget everything else, the messages from my ex, the shadows of my past. As we worked together in the dim light, the weight of my fear and regret slowly began to lift, piece by piece. There was a shared rhythm to our movements, a quiet understanding dancing unspoken behind our words. In those fleeting moments, every twisted nut and screw became a metaphor for the fragility of my heart, and he, this stranger with secrets of his own, was gently helping me put it back together. But just as I felt a fleeting inclination towards hope, my phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with my ex's name. My breath caught in my throat as I hesitated, staring at that name like a foe hidden in the shadows. I forced myself to look away, but my heart betrayed my thoughts. What if he was coming back? What if I opened the door to all those memories, the ones I thought I had buried deep? The mechanic seemed to notice my sudden stillness, the way my hands trembled around the wrench. "Everything all right?" His voice was steady, grounding. I wanted to confide in him, to spill my heart open and let him in. Yet, the fear of vulnerability pressed on my chest like an iron weight. I just need a minute," I stammered, setting down the wrench as I took a step back. The mechanic's gaze shifted to the phone clutched tightly in my hand, and I could sense the shift, the air thickening with unspoken realizations. A moment passed, then two. Tension simmered silently between us until he broke it, stepping forward slightly, close enough to bridge the space I'd put between us. "If you're worried about something, it's okay to talk about it. Sometimes sharing that weight makes it easier to carry." His kindness struck a chord within me, resonating deeper than any words I'd ever heard before. But just as I felt myself begin to open up, my phone buzzed a final time, demanding my attention. My heart raced as I quickly glanced down, and dread swept through my veins. A new message, one that made my blood run cold. "Let's talk. I'll be waiting for you. You can't run from this forever," the mechanic noticed. His expression shifted to concern, and in that moment, I felt the sharp duality of my existence being pulled between wanting to share this burden and the instinct to shield him from the chaos ripping through my life. I had stumbled into something beautiful, yet I couldn't let it crumble before it had even begun. "I can't do this," I whispered, feeling the walls close in around me. As the mechanic opened his mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed from outside, ripping through my thoughts like thunder, followed by an ominous silence. The sudden commotion pulled our attention away, and I knew in that instant that our fragile connection could shatter with just the right push. Was this a sign? A warning? Or simply life reminding me how precarious everything truly was? "Stay here," he urged, taking a step toward the noise, but I felt adrenaline surge through me as a chilling realization took root. "No, wait!" I cried out, desperately grabbing his arm, the panic tight in my voice. Just then, a figure stumbled into the garage, a tall, broad silhouette cloaked in shadows, drenched in rain-soaked desperation. My heart leaped into my throat as recognition hit me like a tidal wave. My ex stood before us, his expression wild with an urgency that set every instinct in me on high alert. "Please, you need to listen to me," he stated, his voice an unsettling cocktail of desperation and familiarity, shattering the tenuous peace that had begun to blossom between the mechanic and me. My world spun, the past and present crashing into one another, while the mechanic stood frozen beside me, uncertainty woven across his face. The doorway had been opened, and now I had to grapple with a choice: embrace the history that haunted me, or take a chance on a future that gleamed with untold potential. The air thickened with tension, and as I met my ex's pleading gaze, the weight of my truth hung like a thundercloud, ready to release its storm. I was torn, suspended between two worlds that threatened to collide, and as I stood on the precipice of decision, hope and despair mingled, leaving me breathless. Would I choose to fight for a new beginning, or would the past consume me once more? The rain continued its unrelenting dance against the garage roof, drumming a chaotic rhythm that matched the pounding of my heart. My ex stood there, a frantic silhouette in the dim light, shadows pooling around him, like dark memories ready to envelop me again. I could see the wildness in his eyes, the way they darted between me and the mechanic, each exchange a knife that twisted in my gut. "Please," he implored again, stepping forward, fingers outstretched like he could bridge the chasm that had grown between us. "I need to explain. Just give me a chance." I took a step back, the urge to flee battling against the gravity of his words. Every moment with him had once felt like a whirlwind of passion and terror, but that wasn't the love I wanted to hold on to anymore. I glanced at the mechanic, who remained rooted in place, his face suddenly a tableau of tension and concern. Is this him?" he asked, his voice quieter now, face tight with the knowledge of what stood before us. I nodded, choking on my words as I felt the walls of the garage close in, surrounding us in a light that now felt suffocating. "I wish you would have given me a call instead of showing up like this," I managed to say, my voice steadying, though it felt like I was teetering on the brink of a chasm. I thought of the nights I spent crying alone, wishing I could find my way back to the light, and yet here he was, dragging the shadows back with him. I didn't know what else to do," he shouted, dropping his hands in frustration. "You disappeared without a word. You can't just abandon everything we had. I'm still in love with you." The mechanic's presence became a tether for me, a reminder of the warmth I had tasted when I began to rebuild my life. Just one look from him offered a glimpse of a world unmarred by tumult. I could almost hear the comforting hum of an engine, drawing us together in shared solace. Taking a deep breath, I stepped away from my ex, drawing all my courage. "You can't keep doing this. You don't get to decide what I should feel or who I should be." His face crumpled, the expression shifting quickly from anguish to anger. "You think you can move on that easily? Just forget about us." The mechanic shifted beside me, growing tense. I stole a glance at him, and in that fleeting moment, he found my gaze and held it steadfastly, lending me strength. This was the moment where I had to choose to battle the past or let it consume me again. In trying to forget a love that nearly destroyed me, I nearly shouted, my voice echoing through the garage. "I won't let that happen again." My words hung heavy in the thick air, but instead of silence, my ex let out a strained laugh. "You think it was so simple for me? I never wanted it to end like this, but you walked away. Are you really going to pretend you're fine?" His words dug deep, a cold reminder of the devastation left in our wake, yet there was a stubborn, fierce part of me that refused to relent. The vulnerability igniting between the mechanic and me whispered of new beginnings. "I couldn't afford to go back to that darkness. I am done pretending," I said, each syllable a little surge of defiance. "But it seems like you're the one who's still trapped in the past." Desperation sparked in his eyes, and he took a step closer. "You think you've healed? You're just putting on a facade enough." The mechanic cut in, stepping forward protectively. I was surprised to see how his frame had filled with resolve, an unexpected fierceness burning in his gaze. "She deserves more than the ghosts of your shared past. If you can't respect that, you need to leave." Things spiraled into chaos as my ex's frustration mounted. "You think you can just come swooping in and save her? You don't know her, man." I felt the weight of both their gazes, the past grappling with the future, and despite the room swirling with tension, a small flicker of hope ignited inside me. "No, you're wrong. I know who I am now. I declared firmly, and am ready to fight for what I deserve. Suddenly, anger surged up in my ex, and he lunged forward, reaching out towards me. But just before his hand could grasp my wrist, the mechanic intercepted. The air crackled as they exchanged glances, two men standing squarely on opposing sides of my life, determination etched in their features. And then, as my heart raced amidst the chaos that surrounded us, the mechanic's jaw clenched, and his voice dropped low. "You will not hurt her again." The adrenaline swelled around us. It was the turning point, a collision of choices, and right then, amidst the storm of emotions, something shattered in my ex's eyes: relief, desperation, possibility. I could almost see the decision unwinding within him. But then, before I could process what it all meant, he broke my gaze, looking to the side, his expression shifting like dark clouds parting to reveal a sliver of light. "I'm sorry," he whispered, almost to himself, as he stepped back, confusion marking every facet of his features. "What?" I asked, my heart catching at the unfamiliar tone in his voice. "That's the problem," he started slowly, each word intentional, laden with a raw honesty I dreaded. "I don't just love you anymore. I have to let you go for real this time." A cold shiver gripped me, as realization dawned. This wasn't an act of courage. This was the beginning of his acceptance of our reality. My heartbeat thrummed in my ears, a metronome counting down to a moment that changed everything. And then, he turned away, his broad shoulders stooping for a brief second before he faced me one last time. "You need to know something. I've been seeing someone. I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid." But now the air thickened with tension and dread. My ex's words hung between us, a void, and my mind spun. Had it all come back around to the beginning, or were we truly standing at a fork in our lives? As I opened my mouth to respond, the mechanic's hand found mine, squeezing tightly, anchoring me to an uncertain present that felt rich with possibility. Gripping tightly, I looked into his eyes, drawing strength from him, feeling the weight of what might unfold in the space between breaths. And then, like a cruel twist of fate, my phone buzzed again, shattering the moment, and as I glanced down at the notification, my heart plummeted, an unknown number flashing on the screen. "I know where you are." They were words soaked in menace and laced with danger, a dark whisper that coiled around my chest, leaving me breathless. My breath hitched, and in that moment, as all eyes turned to me, I felt the threads of my life tighten, the future no longer simply a promise of hope, but a haunting specter looming large, ready to pull me back into a nightmare I thought I had escaped. The mechanic's grip tightened around my hand, the warmth of his touch grounding me, as the notification pulsed ominously on my screen. My heart raced, each thud echoing in my ears like a warning bell. I glanced from my phone to his face, the concern etched on his brow deepening. "Who is it?" he asked, his voice low yet steady, a stark contrast to the tempest building inside me. I hesitated, the irony of my situation gnawing at the edges of my resolve. Here I was, caught between two men, each representing conflicting parts of my life: the past I was trying to forget, and the hopeful future that hung tantalizingly close, yet dangerously out of reach. "It's just I stammered, the words faltering on my tongue. I could feel the anxious energy crackling between us, charging the air with an unbearable weight. I felt sick, like I had been dealt an unfair hand in a game I thought I had started to win. "Just what?" the mechanic pressed, still holding my gaze, but I could see the flicker of fear cross his features. "I don't know," I confessed softly. "It's an unknown number. I've gotten calls like this before," but I trailed off, recalling the late-night voices and broken promises, echoes of my ex that haunted me still. Uncertainty clutched at my throat. I wasn't ready for this. The mechanic's voice was firm, unwavering as he stepped a little closer. "You don't have to answer it. We can leave. You don't owe anyone anything." But even as he said that, I felt an insistent tug within me. I wanted to throw my past away, but shadows lingered, lurking just beyond my reach. "You don't understand," I whispered, the words barely surfacing. "He's not just anyone. He was everything. I thought I could escape him, but the fear of what could still be the uncertainty of his next move twisted my insides. The garage was too small, too stifling, the walls closing in again. I could almost feel my ex's presence creeping back in, his unyielding grip on my life reminding me that freedom was a slippery, never-ending endeavor. "Listen to me," the mechanic said softly, glancing at the door, his expression intent. "You need to take control. Don't let him have that hold over you. Not anymore." I wanted to believe him. Navigating this emotional fog felt more difficult than any mechanic's task. And yet, deep down, I felt the weight of fear collide with a stubborn flicker of hope. Perhaps there was still a way out. Taking a deep breath, I swiped at the notification, revealing a text message that sent chills down my spine. "I know where you are. You can't hide from me." The words dripped with malice, and I felt my stomach drop. "He knows," I gasped, my voice trembling as I turned to the mechanic, his eyes wide with alarm. "Who? Your ex?" I nodded, a chill sweeping over me as I grappled with the implications. The walls were closing in again, and this time it felt far more claustrophobic, the fears of the unwanted past threatening to engulf me once more. Suddenly, my ex's voice pierced the tension hanging in the air, a cruel laugh that echoed off the garage walls. "You think you can just walk away from me? You can't just cast me aside." I turned my head to see him leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, a menacing presence that brought my worst fears crashing back. The mechanic instinctively shifted in front of me, a protector stance, ready to confront the encroaching storm. "I told you to leave," he shouted, clenching his fists. "Why should I? She's mine." My ex snapped back, his wild eyes darting between us with desperate intensity. A war raged within me, the impulse to flee clashing against the urge to confront. "This isn't about possession," I cried out, my voice trembling but steady. "You don't own me. I am not a part of your past anymore." "Then why are you hesitating?" he retorted sharply, pain crackling in his voice. "You think you can be happy with him? You think it will be different this time? You never truly left, you just ran away." His words cut deep, and I fought back tears as I wrestled with the memories that suffocated me. I refuse to live in fear, and I refuse to let you dictate my choices. At that moment, a small flicker of bravery rose in my chest. As I took a step forward, the mechanic stayed close, the strength of his presence rooting me in the reality of this moment. I could feel the walls of the past begin to shift, the future aligning like a strange constellation, lighting a pathway ahead. "Please, just go," I said, emotions swirling inside me, but my voice softened now, filled with a fragile sense of resolve I could barely manage. "For both of us." For a moment, my ex faltered, the fierce intensity in his gaze wavering against the wave of my courage. But then it hardened again, as he released a strained breath. "If you think this is the end, you're wrong. It'll find you. You can't escape me." A shiver coursed through me as his words echoed, the finality of his threat sending an icy chill down my spine. With one last look back at the mechanic, who stood firm, I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me. "Let's go," he urged softly, guiding me away. Ethereal hope bore visible roots of possibility. But as we moved toward the door, my heart leapt as that text notification chimed again. I clasped my hand over my mouth at the sight. "I know your secrets," it read ominously, followed by another cold message. "I'm coming for you." Terror gripped me, but as the mechanic's strong hands held onto mine, his determination stirred a fragile light within the shadowy confines of my fear. No longer would I be playing someone else's game. But just how far was I willing to go to protect what little light remained? The path ahead darkened with each text that taunted me, hinting at a looming presence that sought to pull me back into the depths I had fought so hard to escape. In that surge of panic, I felt my resolve flicker dangerously. There was no cornering this darkness. It was a force as relentless as my growing love for the man beside me, pushing against every wall I had built. As we stepped into the blaring light of uncertainty that awaited outside, I knew I would have to confront not just my ex, but the very parts of myself I feared most. And somewhere, woven into the heart of my turmoil, lay the unexpected question: how could I ever truly embrace the mechanic without fully relinquishing the shadows of my past? The weight of unresolved emotions hung like a heavy fog in the air as we stepped outside the garage, the afternoon sun shimmering against the asphalt but unable to pierce the chill that had settled in my bones. My breath came out in slow, deliberate puffs, each one feeling more like a confession of my fear than a stabilizing anchor. The mechanic's hand remained wrapped around mine, his warmth a comforting balm against the icy dread coiling within me. "Hey," he said softly, bringing me back to the moment. "Let's go somewhere safe. We can talk." His eyes searched mine, grounding me amidst the storm swirling just beneath my surface. I nodded, even as my thoughts raced. I needed to get away, to breathe and clear my head. The cacophony of my past reverberated in my mind like a haunting symphony. "Yeah, okay. Just give me a second." We climbed into his truck, the engine rumbling to life like a beast stirring from slumber. The neighborhood blurred past the window, each street sign a reminder of the life I had tried to carve out in the wake of my ex. The mechanic glanced over at me, his profile sharply etched against the fading light, and I felt an instinctual pull toward him, a mere moment of connection that burned brightly against the shadows looming behind. But my confidence faltered as memories swirled like autumn leaves in a gusting wind. What if he was right? What if I never truly escaped? The thought sat like a weight in my gut as I looked down at the message taunting me on my phone. "Shouldn't you reply to that?" the mechanic asked, a hint of hesitation woven into his tone, eyes flicking between the road and me. I don't know if I should," I admitted, the phone slipping through my fingers and landing with a soft thud in my lap. "It feels like opening Pandora's box. Sometimes it's better to face what's scaring us than let it fester," he said gently, his words wrapping around my anxiety like a lifeline. "You don't have to face it alone." His offer hovered between us like a flickering flame, illuminating the dark corners of my heart. I wanted to lean into that light, to trust him fully, but fear was a stubborn beast, clawing at the edges of my resolve. Should I let someone else carry my burdens, or would that only tarnish the beauty we had begun to share? He took a detour, leading us down narrower streets that wound away from the chaos of downtown. The houses were cozy, each one cloaked in soft, inviting colors. A little tug of nostalgia pulled at my heart, the kind of childhood innocence I thought was reserved only for fairy tales. Yet, even that fondness faltered as my past reared its head again. The mechanic parked in front of a small cafe, a sign swinging gently in the evening breeze. "I heard their coffee is amazing," he suggested, trying to coax a smile from me. "I could use something strong," I replied, forcing a smile that felt shaky on my lips. We stepped into the warm haven, the scent of roasted coffee beans wrapping around us like a comforting embrace. As we settled at a small table for two tucked in the back corner, the chatter of other patrons faded into a dull hum. My heart raced, each beat echoing the turmoil still raging within. "Are you okay?" he asked, watching me carefully. "I'm here if you want to talk about it." "I don't want to burden you with my mess," I confessed, fiddling with the edge of the tablecloth as emotions cascaded through me. "I thought I was ready to leave all of it behind, but it just feels so large, so looming." His brow furrowed slightly as he reached across the table to cover my hand. The warmth of his touch radiated through me, igniting a spark of bravery. "You're not a burden," he insisted firmly. "And facing it is a journey we navigate together, no matter how hard it gets." The honesty in his eyes pulled me closer, but the shadows lingered, gnawing away at the back of my mind. What if my voice trembled slightly as the words formed? What if it's all too much? Then we'll take it one step at a time, he assured me, squeezing my hand gently. You don't have to rush back into anything. We'll find ways to ground you, to help you feel safe. Just as I let the warmth of his kindness envelop me, a sudden thought pierced through the muffled sound of the cafe. What if my ex had laid the groundwork already? What if he had planted spies among my trust? The coffee arrived, steam swirling up like a signal between our intertwined hands, but my swirling thoughts were punctuated by a rush of panic. What if he's watching us right now? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. He frowned, looking around the cafe as if he could physically shield me from the dangers lurking outside. Let him come. He doesn't own you. And together we'll make sure he understands that. His reassurance wrapped around me like armor, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing precariously on a cliff's edge. A soft chime rang out from my phone once more, and dread pooled in my stomach at the sight of the notification. You think him done? It'll show you what it means to really be hunted. You're going to regret everything. My heart plummeted, and I met the mechanic's gaze, fear written across my face. He won't stop, will he? The mechanic leaned in closer, intensity radiating from him as he searched my eyes. We will figure this out. You are stronger than you know. But what if strength was not enough against someone who had once been my everything? The realization hit me with crushing weight. I was teetering on the edge of defining my own future, and at the same time, my ex was rallying his forces to pull me back into the abyss. One decision could lead me deeper into an emotional war I feared I might not win. And just as that thought solidified in the cavern of my mind, the door swung open, and I felt a chill run down my spine as I recognized the figure striding through the entrance, someone who knew both my past and the fragments of my present. With eyes locked onto mine, the weight of an unsought confrontation settled in the air, wrapping around us both, and in that moment, I felt the world tilt ominously beneath my feet. The figure approaching the cafe seemed to move through the haze of my anxiety like a specter from my past. My breath caught in my throat, rendering me momentarily mute. It was as if time had folded in on itself, trapping me in a moment that felt both immediate and achingly distant. The mechanic's grip tightened around my hand, grounding me against the wave of dread washing over. "Who is that?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern as he turned to follow my gaze. It's him," I whispered, the words tumbling out like dice off a table, heralding a fate I hadn't chosen. My heart raced, adrenaline surging through me as I instinctively shifted to face the doorway. The figure paused at the entrance, scanning the room with an arrogance that made my skin crawl. In that moment, I felt stripped bare, exposed for all the mistakes I had made and the wounds that had yet to heal. My ex had always carried himself with unsettling confidence, and now that same energy echoed in the cafe, taunting me from across the room. "Stay close," the mechanic urged quietly, his voice steady beneath the chaos in my mind. I felt a rush of gratitude for his unwavering presence, yet the shaking in my hands told me my composure was fragile at best. "Do you think he saw us?" I could hardly form the words, my throat constricted with fear. "He hasn't approached yet, and if he does," the mechanic replied, his tone firm, "I'm here. You aren't alone in this fight." Yet still, the shadow of my ex loomed. As he sauntered further inside, I was struck by how quickly the past could seep into the present, like ink blotted onto clean pages. I struggled to contain the rush of memories, angry words, and broken promises, a heart twisted by betrayal. "Are you okay?" The mechanic's voice broke through my thoughts, and I realized my fingers had curled tightly around his. "I don't know," I admitted, panic rising like bile in my throat. "Part of me feels like I'm suffocating, and the other part is terrified of what he might do." "Focus on my voice," he said calmly, bringing his other hand to cup my cheek. "You are safe here. Whatever he thinks he is on you, it's not real. You have the power to rewrite your story, and he'll be right beside you. My eyes locked onto his, searching for solace from the storm churning within me. Just then, a sound cut through the uncertain air, the jingle of my ex's phone, a noise that felt all too familiar. It was a taunt, a reminder of the hold he had over my life. "Hold on," the mechanic murmured, releasing my hand momentarily to lean into the table, his gaze riveted on my ex. The tension in the room coiled tighter as my heart raced, caught between the old and the new, the comforting and the terrifying. As my ex approached, I caught the mention of a name spoken too loudly. "Didn't think you'd go for someone like him," he sneered, eyes glinting with malice. "Thought you'd prefer someone more manageable." The mechanic's jaw tightened, and though he didn't flinch, I could sense every muscle in him coiling with readiness. I willed myself to hold on to that strength, to draw from his calm resolve. "This isn't the time or place for your games," the mechanic replied, his voice steady. "Leave her alone. There's nothing you can do to protect her," my ex shot back, his tone dripping venom. "She made her choice. And choices have consequences." A deep sigh escaped me, a swirling mix of apprehension and anger rising within. Part of me wanted to clamor for silence, to shout out that my choices weren't anyone else's but my own, but the greed for self-preservation wrestled with the need to reclaim my voice. "Why don't you just let go?" I managed, forcing the words through the tremors. "I'm done being your pawn." "Is that what you tell yourself at night when you're lonely?" he retorted, a sickly sweetness filling his tone. "What's he going to do when things get tough? You'll run back to me." "No," I insisted, finding a shard of resolve. "I want." The mechanic watched me as if gauging my strength, pride blossoming in his eyes. I sensed the tide shifting, and suddenly, a glimmer of hope stirred within me. This wasn't just about confrontation. It was a chance to draw new lines in the sand. But my ex stepped closer, the predatory gleam in his eyes igniting pure terror in my chest. "Run back? There's nowhere to run, because they'll always find you," he hissed, each word punctuated with a chilling finality. The cafe's atmosphere shifted, a suffocating silence enveloping us as the tension crackled like live wire. It was a standoff between the familiar and the unknown, and I felt trapped in the middle, fragmented places within vying for dominance. As he turned to leave, still smug with the knowledge of his past hold on me, I caught sight of a figure lingering at the entrance. It was someone I never expected, a messenger from a time I'd buried deep. My heart raced as they locked eyes with me, and in that moment of recognition, an entirely new emotional storm began to brew. Unsought and unexpected, that lingering stare spoke of revelations yet to come, leaving me hanging on the precipice of a truth that could unravel everything. The figure at the entrance stepped forward, blurring the lines between the past I thought I had left behind, and the present that threatened to fracture beneath the weight of old wounds. My heart threatened to burst with recognition. It was Mia, my childhood friend, the one who had stood by me when my world crumbled. Her presence ignited a flicker of warmth in the icy grip of my ex's menace, but the shadows that shrouded our history were impossible to ignore. "Mia?" I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. It felt surreal, like resurrecting a long-forgotten melody. Her eyes met mine, and I could see the concern etched across her face. "I heard, and I was worried," she said softly, hurriedly weaving her way through the disheartened crowd. "I know things haven't been easy for you." The air felt charged with unspoken words as she reached me. The mechanic, still tense beside me, regarded her with suspicion, uncertain of the new element in this unfolding drama. "I didn't expect to find you here," Mia continued, wrapping her arms around me in a gesture that both comforted and startled. "Are you okay?" "I saw him. I know how he can be." As I stood enveloped in her embrace, the tension coiling in my chest loosened slightly, if only for a moment. The raw vulnerability of my past began to mingle with the uncertain hope I had found in the mechanic's steady presence. Could this be the sign I desperately needed? In trying to be, I admitted, my voice hoarse. It's just he knows how to push my buttons. MIA's brow furrowed, her protective instincts igniting. You deserve so much better than him. I remember how he used to treat you. I thought you'd finally escaped him. The gravity of her words weighed heavily on me, a reminder of the shackles I'd worn for far too long. But MIA's assurance made me stir. I wasn't the same person I had once been. Unbeknownst to them, the mechanic had sparked a courage in me that felt foreign yet vital. Yes, I thought I had too, I replied, my heartbeat quickening as I felt the tendrils of the past grasping at my resolve like weeds. But he's back, and I don't know how to fight this. They say he never changes, Mia murmured, glancing toward the exit where my ex had just retreated, slinking off with a smugness that turned my stomach. But you have. You've grown so much. Growth doesn't make it any easier, I whispered back, suddenly defensive as I felt the weight of my past press down. You don't know how powerless I feel. I can help you, you know that, she said, a fierce edge creeping into her voice. You're not alone unless you choose to be. You've got me, and she hesitated, eyes shifting toward the mechanic, who stood supportive yet ready, as if waiting for me to gauge my next move. Rick, I added quickly, sensing the protective barrier of his presence, grounding me against my ex's verbal attacks. He's with me. Am not navigating this alone. Mia nodded slowly, measuring my words, but her fierce loyalty sparked something in me. We can do this together. It'll help you stand firm. Just as the warmth of hope began to settle in, the mechanic turned to us, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. I think it's important for all of us to stay vigilant, especially if he's still lurking around. I mulled over his words, the truth of them resonating like a distant drumbeat. The battle wasn't merely against my ex. It was a fight for my self-worth, my identity, and the hard-earned lessons I had gathered since reclaiming my autonomy. I want to face him, I began, my voice steady with determination, intentionally looking from one familiar face to the other. I need to show him I'm not the same girl he used to control. I won't hide anymore. The mechanic's gaze softened, admiration flickering in his eyes, while Mia beamed with pride. It didn't chase away all my fears, but it lit a path through the darkness, offering the smallest spark of clarity. Promise me you'll be careful, Mia urged, looking grave. He won't let go easily. We need a plan. Agreed, the mechanic added, and beneath his steadfast demeanor, I sensed a flicker of apprehension. Let's gather some intel on him. It'll help you, however. I can. The atmosphere shifted, the tension turning into a shared mission instead of an overwhelming sense of dread. As we paved the path forward together, I felt the flickers of the past still lurking, the shadows whispering, taunting, yet I realized I had allies beside me, a bond one had desperately longed for. Later that night, as I lay in bed, the faces of those who loved me swirled through my mind. They were anchors against the tide. Yet, as I drifted into restless sleep, shadows danced in the corners of my dreams. Images of my ex, claiming his power over me, intertwined with notions of hope, buzzing with unanswered questions and unsettled pasts. Then, just before I surrendered to the weight of sleep, a shrill ring echoed through the darkness. My phone. Confused and bleary-eyed, I grabbed it, scrolling through my messages. A chilling text from an unknown number stared back at me. You can run, but you can't hide. I will always find you. The familiar chill coursed through my veins, petrifying me. An avalanche of emotions crashed over me, leaving me gasping. With the darkness of past and present colliding, I realized that my fight had only just begun, and the stakes were higher than I had anticipated. The morning light filtered through my window, warm yet unforgiving. I lay curled beneath my blankets, heart racing, remnants of the previous evening's chilling text still echoing in my mind. I had barely slept, consumed by the weight of fear and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The contrast of Mia and Rick's unwavering support coursed through me like a soothing balm. But the shadows of my past loomed, heartless and unyielding. I pushed myself to rise, the fragile resolve I had felt last night beginning to waver as doubt crept in. Could I truly face him? My reflection in the mirror reminded me of the girl I used to be, eyes hollow and cheeks sunken, living in the echo of my own terror. But those days felt distant, and yet so close, like a cruel and familiar waltz that I couldn't shake off. I shook my head, banishing the thoughts weighing me down. I turned my gaze to my phone, laying on my bedside table. I had to confront the message. I took a deep breath, steeling myself, and replied, "Who is this? What do you want?" As I hit send, I recalled the warmth of Mia's embrace, the solemn encouragement of Rick. I needed to cling to that hope, to believe that I could face whatever was coming. Digging into my resolve, I slid into my clothes and ventured out into the world that, while familiar, felt alien under the shadows of anxiety. The coffee shop near my apartment was quiet when I arrived, a faded jukebox warbling a nostalgic tune. I ordered my usual, the barista offering a soft smile, and though I attempted to return it, anxiety gnawed at my insides. Sipping my coffee, I looked around, my mind half focused on the buzzing of my phone. Had I really thought that I could move forward without the past haunting my every step? Just then, the door swung open, and in walked Mia, spotting me immediately among the scattered tables. Her smile was infectious, a ray of sunshine piercing through my clouded mind. "There you are?" she exclaimed, practically bounding to my side. "Am so glad to see you, Mia." My voice faltered as I met her gaze, struggling to articulate my whirlwind of emotions. "Stop!" she interjected, taking a seat opposite me, a mixture of strength and compassion enveloping her. "We're not doing this. You're okay. I'm here. We're facing this together." Her words hung in the air, grounding me. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "I just got a text last night. It's from him," I confessed, my voice trembling. The act of sharing felt like both a weight lifted and a reminder of the peril I faced. Mia leaned closer, concern shadowing her bright expression. "What did it say?" I looked down at my coffee, the dark liquid swirling as I replayed the moment in my mind. "It said he would find me." Mia's eyes narrowed, determination erupting within them. "He's trying to scare you. But he doesn't have any power over you unless you allow him to. I don't want to allow him to," I asserted, the fire in my chest awakening at the prospect of standing my ground. "But I don't know how to do this, Mia. Let's take it step by step," she offered, a tender smile breaking through the tension. "You thrashed through the darkness to get here. Let's not forget that. Every step you take is a victory." I nodded, hopeful. "You're right. I just need to remember who I am." Just as I began to regain my footing, the vibrations of my phone startled me. A new message flashed across the screen. "You think I'm far away? Check your car. I left you a little something to remind you of your place." Terror seized me, gripping my throat until I could scarcely breathe. "What do I do?" I whispered, panic surging through me like wildfire. "Might be a joke, but we won't take any chances," Mia said, fierce resolve consuming her expression. "Let's go check." Once outside, the fresh air hit me, but the chill didn't relent. Sprinkles of rain began to fall, and my heart raced faster with each step toward my car. I couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching me. As we approached my vehicle, its silver exterior gleamed innocently, yet there was an unfamiliar heaviness surrounding it. What if it's something dangerous? What if Mia clasped my arm firmly, grounding me? "We will deal with it together. Always." With trembling hands, I opened the door, peering inside. My breath caught in my throat as I noticed it, a small, crumpled piece of paper resting on the driver's seat. As I reached for it, I felt the weight of dread. What had he left for me? Mia leaned in closer, her presence a fortress by my side. I unfolded the note, the edges rough against my fingertips. The words scrawled on the paper made my blood run cold. Remember, I know everything. I felt the world tilt on its axis as vertigo washed over me. The past I had thought I was bandaging began to unravel in brutal clarity, exposing the truth I had fought so hard to bury. My heart thundered in my ears as fear seeped in, tainting the fragile moments of hope I had managed to weave. Mia squeezed my hand tightly, a reassuring anchor amidst the storm surging inside me, but I could feel that the ground beneath me was shifting once more, and my determination wavered in the pressure of what I couldn't escape. My ex was not just a specter of my past, he was reawakening a nightmare, and I was caught in the web of something far more perilous than I had anticipated. This was no longer just a fight for my freedom. It was a battle for my very existence, and the stakes felt insurmountable. As the scrawled message hovered before me, cruel and taunting, dread clung to the air like the looming storm clouds overhead. My heart raced, an echo chamber of fear and uncertainty. I swallowed hard, glancing sideways at Mia, who had transformed from my best friend into my shield against the world. Her resolve didn't falter, but the tightening grip of dread in my chest told me I wasn't as strong as I wished to be. Mia, what if he really knows everything? I whispered, the disbelief on my tongue tasting bitter. Every breath felt like a yoke around my neck, pressing down with the weight of old secrets, of darkness that had never truly left me. What if he's coming for me? Mia's expression softened, but her grip remained firm. We can't let his threats crush us. You've already faced so much. We just need to stay a step ahead. Together. She scanned the parking lot, vigilant, as if daring him to show his face. The rain began to fall harder, each drop a reminder of the storm brewing within me. I crumpled the note tightly in my hand, trying to draw solace from its familiar texture, while the droplets found their way through the cracks left by the anxiety in my being. I don't even know what to do. Let's focus on now. We'll drive to my house, grab some supplies, and then we can inform the police. There's no need to face this alone. Mia pulled me toward the passenger seat while I struggled to keep up with the deluge of worry swelling inside me, my mind racing with scenarios I didn't want to imagine. As we climbed into the car, I tried to shove the note deep into my pocket, but something stopped me, an eerie familiarity, like a clock ticking down toward something inevitable. Wait. I turned back, scanning the back seat of my car. What if there's more? What if he's left something else? Mia shook her head, a flicker of courage lighting in her vulnerable eyes. No. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Let's just go. With every nervous breath, I fought the urge to demand we investigate further. I had no evidence that his threats were anything but smoke, but the fear paralyzing me was definition enough. I forced myself to exhale. All right, let's go. But even as I drove through the rain-soaked streets, I felt an undercurrent of doubt claw at me. As we turned onto Mia's street, an unexpected sight caught my eye, a mechanic's shop I hadn't noticed before, its vintage allure calling out to me. The sign flickered a warm neon green, a forgotten haven amid the storm. I felt drawn to it, a strange compass of hope amidst the chaos swirling inside. We should stop. Just for a moment. The words stumbled out before I could stop myself. Mia looked bewildered, but a flicker of mischief crossed her face. You want to be rescued by a mechanic? Is it the beautifully retro garage that has you mesmerized, or the promise of an oil change? Not a mechanic. Just something about it feels welcoming. I hadn't realized how much I longed for a brief respite from the crushing pressure of uncertainty until the thought bloomed inside me. After a moment's hesitation, Mia relented, pulling into the gravel lot with an amused chuckle. We stepped out into the rain, the world briefly muted under the soft patter of drops. As we entered, the shop welcomed us with its cluttered charm, filled with car parts and the scent of oil and gasoline. Behind the counter stood a man, his hands stained with grease, and a friendly grin unfolding on his face as he looked up. What can I do for you two lovely ladies? The warmth in his voice, a stark contrast to the cold grip of fear that had haunted me all morning, breathed life back into me. "Just thought we'd come see what's around," I managed, my heart silently thudding along with a sudden sense of connection. Mia nudged me playfully, inclining her head towards the assorted tools hanging on the wall. "We might just need some help fixing our lives," she declared with a wink. The mechanic laughed, deep and genuine. "Well, you've come to the right place. Leave your broken parts out in the rain, and let's figure out how we can put the pieces back together." For a brief moment, I was transported from the gnawing anxieties that lurked in the shadows of my past. The mechanic's light-hearted demeanor felt like a protective cocoon wrapping around me. I hesitated, realizing how little I dared to voice my fears, even in this small sanctuary. "I feel lost." He nodded knowingly, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "Well, sometimes we have to dig deep to find what needs fixing. But you can't do it alone." His voice was imbued with kindness, a contrast to the harsh words I had received just before. Just then, I felt my phone buzz again. My heart dropped as I retrieved it, bracing for another assault of dread. Instead, the screen illuminated a new message. "You think you can hide? He'll always know where you are." Cold panic seized me, setting my pulse racing even faster. I met Mia's eyes, wide with alarm and dread, a fleeting moment of clarity flashing before us both. The mechanic's presence, once a beacon of hope, now grayed in sunlight, overshadowed by the urgent trials that lay ahead. The storm outside seemed nothing compared to the one brewing within me. With the truth crashing down and laughter on the tip of my tongue, I realized the embrace of fleeting moments could only hold so long against the inevitability of what came next. As the rain poured harder, I felt the chains of my past wrapping tighter around my skin, and with it, the weight of fear became mountains of burden I hadn't yet begun to climb. "Let's go," I whispered to Mia, desperation lacing the words. "We can't stay here." As we turned to leave, I felt the mechanic's eyes on us, but it was the chilling laughter deep within my mind that haunted me. I could no longer distinguish whether I was truly escaping the shadows of my past, or merely pushing them further away for now. And as we stepped back into the tempest of rain, I wondered could I ever truly outrun what I had been fleeing for so long. The day dawned with a somber grayness, the weight of unresolved fear lingering like a thick fog pressing in on my chest. I took a steadying breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs as I sank deeper into the familiar embrace of my thoughts. A part of me wished to stay cocooned in this uncertainty, but the other half, the half strengthened by the presence of Mia and the mechanic, urged me to step forward. I had to confront the past, to face what I had been trying to escape for so long. After the cafe, we had driven to Mia's house, the weight of looming threats settling heavily in the air around us. Together, we brainstormed and made plans, but I could still feel the volatility simmering just beneath the surface, waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. Today, we would file a police report. Today, I would take a definitive stand against the shadows that sought to engulf me. I pulled myself from the depths of anxiety, my reflection reminding me of the girl I had once been, a girl too afraid to fight back. As I looked into the mirror one last time, I felt the flicker of a different girl rising to the occasion, resilient, determined, and no longer willing to let fear dictate her life. "Mia?" I called, her name slipping from my lips like a prayer. "Yeah, coming," she replied, bounding into the room with a determined smile. "Are you ready?" I ventured, my voice just above a whisper. "More than ready." "Let's show him that we're stronger than he'll ever understand," she declared, her confidence igniting a fire within me. As we stepped outside, the air crackled with anticipation. The sun broke through the clouds, illuminating our path, as if the universe had decided to bless the fight we were about to undertake. "The police station isn't far," I muttered, both excited and terrified. "It feels surreal, like I'm about to step into a story I never imagined I'd be living." We walked side by side, talking about everything and nothing, each conversation thread weaving our resolve tighter. But as we turned onto a quiet street, my phone buzzed again. My heart sank, bracing for another wave of dread. No, I breathed, the echo of the past crawling back into my mind. My finger hesitated over the screen before I finally dared to look at the message. Did you really think you could run from me? I see everything. Time froze. Panic washed over me as I read those words aloud. Mia leaned closer, her brow furrowing with concern. Let's get to the station, she urged firmly, urgency lining her voice. Something about the message made the air grow heavy with anticipation. By the time we reached the station, I felt as if my resolve might crumble beneath the weight of dread unearthing itself. The uniformed officers greeted us with sympathy, nodding their understanding as we recounted the events leading us here. They noted every detail, documenting my fears, while reassuring us that no matter how elusive the threat felt, they would do everything possible to help. Why do I feel like I'm wandering into a lion's den? I whispered to Mia, shame flooding my voice. She squeezed my hand tightly. Because you are? But this time, you have backup. The officers promised to keep watch and initiated an investigation. As we turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of a familiar face rushing in Rick, the mechanic. His usually warm demeanor was tainted with concern. Are you okay? He asked, eyes wide as they scanned my face for signs of fear. Mia and I are handling it, I responded, my voice firm. Yet as my heart raced, I could sense the stiffness creeping around the edges of my resolve. Rick leaned in closer, low enough that only I could hear. I'll do whatever it takes. I'm with you, no matter what. His words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, igniting something I hadn't expected to feel amidst my fears. Thank you, I said, my sentiment genuine, but the moment thawed, adding yet another layer of warmth to the cold darkness that loomed outside. As we walked out, an ominous chill swept through me, but we pressed forward into the light of day. Soon, the sun would set, but not before I cast off the weight of my past. We climbed into Mia's car, and I felt the fear loosening its grip for the first time. As we drove along winding streets, I sensed a profound change sweeping over me. The world around us was alive, vibrant, and filled with possibility. And with that realization blossoming in my heart, I sensed a clearer mission rising to the forefront, not just to escape my past but to reclaim my future. After all, I had connections now, a tribe forged in struggle. I looked at Mia, at Rick, and although the shadows still waited for me, I knew I was ready. Yet just then, a sharp ring startled me, a notification I'd never anticipated. My heart raced as I opened it. Meeting me at the old garage tonight. Come alone if you dare. If you don't, I'll make sure you regret it. Though my stomach twisted with fear, I felt a ripple of determination set my spine straight. We can't run from him, I murmured, urgency crackling in the air. Rick's expression settled into a steel-like resolve. We're all coming with you. You're not facing him alone. A fierce warmth blossomed within me, igniting a defiance I thought I had lost long ago. I'm done running. I'll stand with you both, no matter what. What do you say, Mia? Shall we show him the strength of unity? Absolutely. He'll get a taste of the storm he's conjured, she replied, her smile unwavering. This time, a spark ignited inside me, laying the foundations for a new dawn that stirred my soul. And just like that, I was ready to face my past. By not only confronting it, but also arming myself with love and loyalty. This would no longer be a battle for survival. It would be a transformative reclamation of everything I had lost. As twilight descended, painting the evening sky in violet hues, I whispered a silent promise to myself. I would not let fear rule my heart anymore. Tonight, I would reclaim my narrative. Let's do this, I breathed with quiet conviction, ready to write a new chapter, one filled with freedom, strength, and love. And as I faced the looming shadows, I knew for the first time in an eternity that I had the power to let the light in. Tonight, I would break the chains that bound me, and finally, living again would mean seizing the future I had almost forgotten to desire. Because hope was no longer lost, it was being reborn in the face of all I had once feared, and nothing could extinguish that flame ever again.